about the billions wasted in military spending, so that is going to be a sector for us to watch. And you are watching CNN Money. I'm Maggie Lake. We'll get back to business news in just a moment. First, here are the top world news stories we are following. U.S. President-elect Donald Trump has dismissed claims Russia influenced the U.S. election through hacking. He tweeted, "Can you imagine if the election results were the opposite and we tried to play the Russia and CIA card? It would be called conspiracy theory." In Turkey, 44 people are now known to have been killed in two bombings in Istanbul on Saturday. 36 of the victims were police, according to state media, quoting the government health minister. The Kurdish separatist group TAK said it was to blame, and Turkey has responded with airstrikes on Kurdish targets in northern Iraq. The Egyptian president says 4 people have been arrested over the bomb attack Sunday at a Coptic church in Cairo. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi declared 3 days of national mourning. Local media say at least 23 people died. There's been no claim of responsibility for the attack. The Syrian army is gaining more ground in the battle for eastern Aleppo. Witnesses say the army has captured several neighborhoods. Syrian forces have been bombarding rebel positions with airstrikes and mortar fire. As they advance, civilians are fleeing the city by the thousands. Let's just check in, and you can see that even though we're talking about blistering rallies and a record run, we're pretty much flat here at the open for the Dow, just managing to eke into positive territory. Oil prices are showing much bigger moves, though, surging after several big producers agreed to follow OPEC and cut production next month. Both Brent and U.S. crude hit their highest levels in a year and a half. John Defterios joins us now with more from Abu Dhabi. And John, this was the big question we were wondering about. It seems like they've delivered.
Yes. They certainly have, and in a much larger way than most were expecting just a month ago, Maggie. We've had a number of conversations about it. In essence, we've had 24 producers come together on both the OPEC and non-OPEC side to cut about 2% of global supplies. The idea is to chip away at the 3 billion barrels of surplus. It sounds like a lot, but that's about a month extra of supplies, and they believe they can knock that out in the first half of 2017. We're looking at pictures of the meeting over the weekend, and in fact, you can almost call it a love fest between Saudi Arabia and Russia, the number 1 and 2 producers within the OPEC and non-OPEC sphere here. But they planted this idea, Maggie, in February of 2016. Let's go back to January, and you see the reason why. We went to a 12-year low of $27 a barrel, and we've had a number of conversations throughout the year. On 3 different occasions, we saw oil break through $50 a barrel, primarily in the summer and the autumn. But nobody believed they would actually not just freeze production, but to cut it. So 1.2 million barrels from OPEC, another 600,000 barrels, or just under that by the non-OPEC players. But we have to take a step back. Why is this the case? Saudi Arabia is pushing the envelope here because it's trying to get a $2 trillion valuation for Saudi Aramco. It's state-run operator, and it wants to do that, at least sell 5% in 2018. Russia's been under a lot of pressure for the last 3 years, partially because of sanctions, but because oil prices have hovered below $50 a barrel. So when you have the number 1 and 2 players within the non-OPEC and OPEC sphere come together and agree eye to eye, you can make a deal happen. And that's what it took, at least 5 meetings throughout 2016 to finally come in December of the year and bring the 2 major players to sit in the press conference together and perhaps say there are more cuts to come, depending on how the market reacts in the first quarter of 2017. We heard that both from Saudi Arabia and Russia. Now, the real test, the big question mark going forward, what does this mean for the shale producers? Oil hovering around $55, $60 a barrel will attract more shale production, and will the non-OPEC and OPEC players respond if needed in the second quarter of the year, Maggie? A couple of big question marks going forward.
Absolutely, and you can believe, I think we all know the shale producers are anxious to pump again. Can that cohesiveness of that deal stick? If they do, John, speaking of deals, do you need to ask you about Boeing, the Boeing and Iran deal moving forward? How much confidence do we have in that, given the political rhetoric